Hello everyone, welcome to our first pre-recorded lecture session. Today's topic is called as Ethics and Social Responsibility. Before we start, there are a couple of things that you should know. First things first, you can watch this lecture and complete the attendance before Friday 2 p.m. So you have plenty of time to watch it at your own convenience, at your own time. I do not expect students to directly watch all the way for 2 hours. It's okay if you want to talk, if you want to watch it for 10 minutes and then you want to take a break, I'm okay with that. So you can break it down, or if you want, you can watch all of them directly. I'm fine with that. Also, I need to remind you that in this lecture, there will be a lecture code. You need to take the lecture code. Do not share it with your friends. Do not give it to them. Do not post in our WhatsApp group or in our Teams. Take the lecture attendance code and then do your own attendance. Now the attendance for our lecture is already in times. I've already unhide it, so you can just, once you get the code, you can click it, put all the details inside including the lecture code, and that will be considered your attendance. Again, you have until 2 p.m. to get this done. Yeah. So we are going to start with ethics and social responsibility. This chapter is very important for students because in this chapter you will learn a lot of things, such as you will learn what is ethics, how do we deal with ethics, what the problem arises. Of course, the tutorial would help. Later on, there are a couple of things that I do not cover, but we will do it during tutorial. We will also look at how companies treat their stakeholders, what is even stakeholders, and then what is the company's approach towards being socially responsible, and also most importantly, what issues is surrounding this topic itself. Okay, we're gonna start, and before we jump further, what we need to do is this. Okay, let's take a look at what we will be learning today. There are 5 things in total. The first one is just going to explain how we as individuals develop our own personal code of ethics and why ethics is very important in the workplace. Of course, again, tutorial will help further about this, so please make sure that you come to all the tutorial classes. Second, we also are going to look at the difference between social ethics, social responsibility and ethics, and we need to understand who is the organizational stakeholders. Who are they? Yeah. The next one, number 3, is that actually we're going to look at the concept of social responsibility and how it applies to environment and customers, also employees and investors. Number 4, we're going to look at the approaches of social responsibility and also their role in small business. Lastly, we're going to look at the role of government in social responsibility and how government and businesses influence each other. Normally, for the last part, number 5 here, we will be discussing about it in tutorial. Okay, I'm gonna start. We start our lecture here by asking a simple question. What actually determines whether a behavior is regarded as ethical or not ethical? So actually, it is based on 2 things. The first one, whether something is considered ethical or not, is based on our own individual values and our own individual morals. Everybody here have their own individual values and moral. Second, it is also based on what society, our surrounding, our society regard as good or bad. Yeah. So generally, if we and our society both perceive that an action or behavior is good or right, we will call it as ethical behavior. If we believe, we and our society believe that any particular action or behavior is wrong or bad, we would call it as unethical behavior. It is simple as that. Ethical, unethical, good, bad. Yeah. So ethics generally, by definition, is actually a belief of what is right or what is wrong, or what is good and bad in actions that somehow would affect other people. Since ethics, whether it's right or wrong, ethical or unethical, is in our daily human interaction, ethics also happen in the workplace. Now, for business ethics, we have a term we call business ethics. Business ethics refers to any ethical or unethical behavior by employees in the context of their job. For example, helping co-workers in their job, lying to customers in their job, increasing price in their job, cutting down the price, giving discounts, giving charity, paying taxes. These are all considered as part of business ethics because it's surrounding their job itself. You see, because ethics are determined partly by individuals and also partly by society, some actions are clear-cut, can be considered as ethical or unethical. For example, lying, most of the time you can say that it's unethical. So if you hit an employee, you come and you hit, clearly it's unethical. If you conduct sexual harassment, it is clear-cut unethical behavior. If you help co-workers, you are being nice to people, you go extra mile, that is clear-cut ethical action. So a lot of times actions are clear-cut, but sometimes they do vary, they do differ between a person to person, between a situation to situation, and also between from culture to culture. So they differ itself. When things, they are not clear-cut, whether it's ethical or not, we can call them gray areas. Because in real life, see, real world scenario can be quite complicated and not clear-cut. I'll take example. A poor mother who steals milk or pampers will create debates in the society and among people whether her action is ethical or not. She's poor, she steals milk or pampers. That some people still believe that is unethical, some people would say that is ethical. And also during natural disaster, for example, we have a lot of natural disaster. When natural disaster hit, there are people who broke into shops to steal foods and other necessities. Now, although this is illegal, but some people would always consider it to be ethical. Now, these are gray areas. We also call gray areas as ethical ambiguities. I repeat again, these gray areas is called as gray areas or ethical ambiguities. They are debatable, not clear-cut whether it's right or wrong. So, normally, another thing that you should know is that normally the society itself, they will develop their perception of ethical actions or unethical actions into formal law. They will look at ethical, unethical, and then they will create a formal law. And this formal law will help to govern everyone in the society. Those who doesn't follow this law will either be advised, educated, or even punished. That's how the society grows. Next one. So a question that people also ask is that since some are easier to determine, some are not easier to determine, how do we actually decide? How can we decide whether a particular action or decision is ethical or not? So these are the 4 steps. Look at the first step. The first step of deciding whether a particular action or decision is ethical or not, there must be an issue. So an issue arises, step 1. You can see here, step 1 here. The issue arises. Once the issue arises, what should you do? As either employee, manager, business leader, or even founder itself, the next thing, once an issue arises and it comes to your info, you should first always gather the relevant factual information. Factual. It must be based on facts. That's the best way to decide whether something is good or bad. So go and gather as much information as you can. Which means that you gotta interview people, you gotta look at the data, interview other parties, you have to get as much decision as you can. The more information that you have, the easier it is for you to actually make a very good judgment or a good decision. That's the rule. Get as much information as you can, because that would help you to determine. The lesser info that you have, the harder for you to make a correct decision. Once you have most of the factual information, then you analyze the facts. You either analyze alone, set up a team, ask somebody else to help you out, but you just analyze the facts in order, and then that would help you to determine the most appropriate moral values. Once you have analyzed that, then only you can make a sound ethical judgment based on whether it is right or wrong the activity is, or the issue is. And also, most of the time when you want to make any actions or any decisions as a leader or even as a owner, you need to make sure that it is based on policy, the company rules and regulation. Always do not simply make that decision. Check also what is the company rules and regulation. If it's there, follow the company rules and regulation. If it's not there, it's time for you to actually propose new rules or regulation, or we call it as company policy. That's how we assess ethical behavior and make correct decision. Next one. This is actually just a model of ethical judgment making. You can take your time, you can pause this video, maybe take 1 or 2 minutes, you read through this quickly. Yeah. Alright guys, this next part discuss about company practice and business ethics. It's not that hard, it's easy. The thing is, as unethical and illegal activities increases in a lot of companies, so a lot of firms, they have already taken steps to encourage ethical behavior in their own firm, in their workplace. So these are some of the ways that people normally do. So there are two actually. There are two most common approach to actually really formalize the top management commitment to ethical business practice. If you want to create an ethical company with so many ethical employees, it must start with the top management. And as top management, these are the two ways that they do. The first one, normally what top management do to show that they are very committed to ensure their business is ethical, they would adopt written codes. Adopt written codes means that they would actually make sure that there are written policies, written clear ethical guidelines that they want to achieve as a company. And it was done by top management, communicated to all of their employees. Example of written codes. We believe in transparency. We believe in being honest to our customers. We believe in respecting people's privacy. These are all things that companies, top management write, and then they clearly communicate. That's how they create an environment that is very ethical. Yeah. The next one is instituting ethics program. What it means is quite simple. Top management, what they do is that they would ask normally external people to come and provide training for their employees. So they would create programs and ask all of them employees to join that training on ethics. For example, how to behave, how to talk to your customers, what are the do's and don'ts, how do you encourage behavior, ethical behavior, what is not accepted, what determines whether they are doing something illegal or not. So it gives them a lot of knowledge, a lot of awareness to their employees. These two things would really help to slowly create a culture of ethical in a company. Not all companies do this. Some companies simply don't care. When a company simply don't care, their employees don't care. Their employees will just behave whatever they want. Because guess what? Top management does not do the two most important and most common approach to start creating culture. The next one, additional, that people normally do is actually lead by example. The top management needs to make sure that they show behavior. They show ethical behavior. They are transparent to their employees. They are not lying to their employees. They are giving fair opportunities to the employees. They are not practicing racism. So the top management need to show, communicate until people can see and employees can discuss among them. You see our boss, you see our management, our leader, see they are not racist at all. They are not sexist at all. They are very transparent. So when people see it, then it will slowly motivate behavior that encourage ethics. So we have done quickly about ethics. Don't worry guys, because this part here, there are more things that I have prepared for you guys. Both, if you notice in our times, I've created videos. I've uploaded videos as well that you can watch. Please do watch. I took time to actually select these videos. And also, I've created some tutorial questions, tutorial activities for us to understand further about ethics, including ethical ambiguities just now. The next part here, we discuss about social responsibility. Social responsibility is being ethical, but they are not identical. They are related, like sisters, but they are not twins. Let's take a look at what social responsibility is. The thing is, we look at the definition first. Social responsibility refers to the overall way in which a business attempts to balance their commitment to the groups and also individuals in their environment. So it's actually a business attempt to balance their commitment to groups and also social environment. Why do business need to balance this? What kind of balancing is this? As a business, we take input from our society, our social environment. With the raw materials we take from our nature. We take employees inside. We take customers' money inside. We take a lot of things. So these are all things that we take. So we need to balance them out. What do we do with balance? We make sure that we are also being responsible towards them. We are not doing things that are bad. We are giving extra marks for them. Then it's okay because the input is pretty much equals to output. Some companies are good in social responsibilities. Some companies are very bad in being socially responsible. That's why we need to learn this topic. And you see, a company, they actually have what we call as organizational stakeholder. This one here, organizational stakeholder. They are not organizational shareholder. Shareholder is different. We are talking about stakeholder. We are going to learn about shareholder some other days. Today, what is organizational shareholders? Today, what is organizational stakeholders? Stakeholders are anybody, groups, individuals, organization, anybody that are directly affected by an action or a practice of a company. So if a company do an action, a practice, or changes or something, and it affects certain group, these are organizational stakeholders. And a company needs to be socially responsible to their organizational stakeholders. Let's take a look at the 6 types of stakeholders. In total, there are actually about 5 major corporate stakeholders. So we look at 5 here. And most companies, they strive to be responsible to their stakeholders. And they concentrate on these 5 people, these 5 types. The first one is, of course, their customers. Let's start with customers. These are the first stakeholder. They also focus on employees. Employees is affected by any company action, policy, changes, planning. So stakeholders. They also, another stakeholder is the investors. Those who actually provide the fund when they first wanted to grow or to start, and also suppliers, those who supply them, and also local communities, the surrounding people where they do their business. Please remember these 5 major stakeholders. And repeat one more time: customers, employees, investors, suppliers, local communities. Who are they? Organizational or corporate stakeholders. Okay guys, this next part here focuses on the stakeholder model of responsibility. So there are 5 stakeholders. What this slide actually says is that what does a company needs to do to make sure that they are being responsible to their 5 stakeholders. The first one, let's take a look at this. Customer. In order for a company to be responsible to their customers, they need to do a couple of things. The first one is that they need to treat them fairly and honestly. They also need to charge fair prices. Of course, they need to make money, but they need to charge fair prices. They also need to honor warranties. If they say warranty for 3 years, broken before 3 years, honor that warranty. They also need to meet delivery commitment. If they say I'm going to deliver within 5 days, they need to deliver within 5 days. And also they need to stand behind the quality of the product that they sell. Yeah, so they do not sell product that is broken. That's a very summary of the first stakeholder. And next, we look at the employees. In order for a business to be responsible to their employees, the basic thing is that they need to ensure that when they deal with their employees, they treat all of their employees fairly. And also they make sure that they make sure that the employees are part of the team. A company also respect the dignity and basic human needs. This is the easiest or the minimum responsibility that a company needs to give to their employees. It sounds very simple, sounds common sense, but unfortunately there are a lot of companies. There are companies, not a lot, there are companies that do not do this. And I have given again a video in our times for us to watch together later on. You can see how a company behave. Next, investors. To make sure that a company maintains a socially responsible stance towards their investors, the manager actually need to follow proper accounting procedure. The manager need to provide appropriate information to their shareholder or the investors about their financial performance. And also the manager need to manage the organization to protect the shareholder rights and also their investment. These are the minimum thing that a manager needs to do to be socially responsible to their investors. When it comes to suppliers, business and managers, they should always manage their relationship with suppliers with care. For example, it might be easy for a large corporation to take advantage of suppliers by providing or asking unrealistic delivery schedules. Because they are large, they are big, they are very wealthy, so they go and they actually somehow ask all of these small or medium suppliers to give them tomorrow or to give them within 1 hour. These are all unrealistic delivery schedules. And also maybe sometimes large corporations can also reduce profit margin by always pressuring these smaller companies or smaller suppliers to lower down the price. So this is how a company needs to take care of the relationship. We need to make sure that suppliers have a healthy, steady profit for them to grow. We also need to make sure that we give them enough times. We also need to make sure that we take care of our suppliers. Lastly, for local and international communities, most businesses, they try to be socially responsible to their local communities. So how do the business try to be responsible? Sometimes they contribute to local programs. The local communities do any event, any programs, they actually give a little bit of money. Here you go. Good luck with your program. Good luck. These are being very socially responsible. They help out, and they also get involved in charitable programs. Yeah, and lastly, most of the time, what they do is that they minimize negative impact on communities. They do not do things that really have negative impact on communities. Again, there's a video that I provided in our times that shows how a company, this one, several factories actually, do not even care about the local communities, being totally irresponsible to their local communities, and how it really impacts the people around that. Yeah, we're not talking about employees, we're talking about communities. Yeah, please go and watch the videos. Okay guys, apart from what we mentioned just now, when we talk about being socially responsible, businesses, they are always confronted by these 4 areas. People really check into it because there's so many issues arise. The first area of being socially responsible is towards the environment. The next one, towards the customers, towards how a business behave towards their employees, how a business behave towards their investors. We're going to look at some of them. Let's take a look at the first one. Oh yeah, guys, this is the lecture code. You can pause this video, take the lecture code, fill in your attendance, and that's it. Okay. This next part here, look at why a company needs to be responsible, socially responsible towards the environment. I think everybody here have heard about global warming and how it leads to natural disaster. But apart from that, we also need to know that a lot of these pollutions, even global warming, are actually contributed by the developed countries and also by major corporations or big companies. And what happened is that we have rapidly increased the global warming, and we have also rapidly increased the pollution that is happening. There are 4 major pollutions. There are air pollutions, there are water pollutions, there are land pollutions, there are noise pollutions. I have added a little bit of video inside our times to show you the severity of this air, water, land pollution and how it impacts people. But generally, a company, they have the means, they have the manpower, they can get the expertise, they can also contribute to reduce or contribute to make things worse when it talks about the environment itself. Yeah. What company needs to do in order for them to be socially responsible? The minimum that they need to do is to make sure that they control the pollution, they control their waste, they control how they deal with the environment. Yeah, because if they don't, what happens? We can see that every single year we have natural disaster. If you don't control, a company and a government does not try to combat or control the pollution, it will lead to a lot of natural disasters and also a lot of loss of life itself, and mostly the cost to repair all of these damaged building infrastructures, human life, is just massive. That's why we ask companies, people pressure companies to at least control the pollution. If you can go further ahead, you can help out to reduce the pollution, you spend money to help the environment, that is even better. Yeah. The next one, A company also needs to make sure that they are being socially responsible towards their customers. How do they do it? So there are two things here that we put. The first one, a company need to always respect consumer rights. We're going to look at consumer right after this, but they need to know that we have 6 consumer rights. A company needs to know and respect all these consumer rights. But not just company, we as a consumer needs to also know about our own consumer rights. Yeah. The next part is that actually company should not and cannot engage in unfair pricing. So there are 2 ways for companies to engage in unfair pricing. And who benefit? The company benefit. Who lose? The consumer lose. Yeah. There are 2 ways for company to engage in unfair pricing. The first one is collusion. What is a collusion? Collusion is when 2 or 3 companies, they gang up together and then they fix a price. Normally big companies can do this. Imagine if airline companies all over the world, they gang up. They are big, they know each other's CEO. They know each other's top management. They can have a meeting over Zoom or Skype with all of these people, and then they decide, you know what, we have been giving cheap tickets, we have been giving cheaper airlines, it's not working for us. Now it's time for us to step up the game. So they can suddenly tomorrow change, everybody increase double the price. Everybody agrees, then we can't do anything about it. Telecommunication companies can do that. Yeah, internet service companies, they can do that. So this is not allowed. This is what we call as collusion. When companies gang up, fix a price and benefit the companies, but the one that loses is the customers because they have to pay more. Yeah, collusion, not allowed. Unfair pricing. The second way that a company needs to be responsible to the customers is by not engaging in price gouging. What is a price gouging? Price gouging is when there is a steep increase of price because there is a demand for it. Example like this lah. During festive season, they know that beef is going to, or chicken is going to be, the demand for chicken is going to increase. So companies suddenly increase steep amount of price for the chicken. Or maybe during like COVID-19, companies know that pharmaceutical products, healthcare products, masks, all of these were actually in high demand. So they purposely increase the price of their healthcare. Or even like now, laptops, computers, these are important because so many companies are investing for their employees to work at home. Therefore, this company that produce this laptop, any devices, purposely increase by 25%, 30% to get maximum profit at that time. That is not allowed. Yeah, that's price gouging. Guys, this is the one that I said just now, the Consumer Bill of Rights. There are 6 Consumer Bill of Rights. This was first introduced in US. Before we have Consumer Bill of Rights, pretty much the customers were not really protected. Companies feel free to do whatever they want. But because there were consumerism awareness, and then people start to take note, and then they pressure government to do it, government slowly, US government passes the Bill of Rights to protect the consumer itself, not just the company. There are 6 in total. We read one by one. The first one is that consumer have a right to safe product, which means that the company have tested their product, ensure that it is safe to their best of abilities, approved by a body that it is safe, and then they can sell it to you. So what happened is that if the product is totally not safe, they did not do the proper mechanism to ensure product is safe, and somehow you are affected by it badly, you can sue them. Yeah, you can also have your right to ask what have been done. Is this approved? Is this approved by this body? Is it safe for me to consume? Perhaps if I want to eat, is this approved by our local authorities? This is your right. Yeah. The next one is that consumers also need to have the right to be informed about all relevant aspects of product. That's why when you buy a product, for example, you buy any product, they would actually put the ingredients, they put the details, they put the information as much as they can, because it's your right to be informed about the aspect of the product, including the price, not just the pricing, everything about it. And you can ask as much information as you can. The company is obligated to provide you with this information. The next one, you also have the right to be heard, which means that if you have any issues, you complain, they need to make sure that you are being heard. They cannot stop you. I don't want to talk to you. I don't like you as customers. You have the right to be heard. If you have any concern, queries, dissatisfaction. Yeah. Number 4, you also have the right to choose what you want to buy. A company cannot force you, they cannot scam you into buying things. You have the right. When you buy something, it must be based on your willingness. It must be because you are aware of what you get into. You are not being scammed, you are not being forced, you are not being threatened to buy something. That's your right. Yeah. Number 5, you also have the right to be educated about purchases. So they tell you what you're getting, what you're buying. Also, they tell you what is the right, stuff like that lah. Number 6, the last one is actually you have the right for good service. That's why if you go to restaurants or you go to any companies, if they provide bad service, you can complain. You can call the manager, because we all have a right to at least have a good service. Yeah, these are the 6 rights. Quite easy. If you want to pause this video for 1 minute and watch it, please do so. The next one. So just now we talked about a company needs to be responsible to their customers. A company needs to be socially responsible to their environment. A company needs also to be socially responsible towards their employees. This one. How does a company ensure that they are being responsible towards their employees? You see, employees give their time, pretty much give their life, their time, their ideas, their effort. They travel, they take risk of getting accident to go there to work for the companies. They contribute, they give profit, give value to the employers or the company. Therefore, because of this contribution, employees also need to make sure that they are being fair and responsible towards the employees. How? These are the several ways on how a company or employers can be responsible towards their employees. The first one, a company needs to make sure that they provide opportunities to balance work and life pressures. Yeah. So a company needs to make sure that the workload that they give allows the people to actually have a balance between work and life. They cannot ask to work unreasonably or give a workload that totally doesn't make sense, that pretty much can impact their life or even their health. If they do this, you can actually take a court case to the employers. Next one, employers or company needs to also make sure that the employees, their own employees, can maintain the job skills. They do not purposely, intentionally take a particular employees and doesn't allow the employees to grow. That is considered as being very selective or doing something that is unethical. Yeah. The third one, even if the employees does not behave well, the employees also got problems. Some employees have problems, employees also have their own problem. So even if we deal with employees that are problematic, we need to treat them with respect when we terminate them or when we lay off our employees. Is there any difference between termination and laid off? So there are some terminated means that normally when you terminate or you are being fired, it's something that you do wrong. So you need to do something against company policy, something that is unethical, then only they have a case to fire you or terminate you. Yeah. Laid off means that you're okay, you're not doing something wrong, but the companies just cannot afford. The companies does not make money, they are losing money, they need to ensure that they survive. Therefore, they need to lay off, remove some of these employees. But did you make any problem? Did the employees make any problems? No, they did not. Yeah. Still, if they are being terminated because of their own fault, or they are being laid off because the company cannot survive anymore, okay, when we do this, we need to treat them with respect. Yeah, we do not simply throw their stuff outside from the office, or we do not embarrass them, or we do not say bad words to them. You know, do it nicely. Last, how a company can be responsible towards their employees is by ensuring that they provide equal opportunities without regards of race, sex, or any irrelevant factor. Which means that you should be hired because of what you can contribute, not because of your color of the skin, not because your religion, not because of the sex itself, or even hiring is one thing. When you are being promoted, so the company needs to make sure that people have equal opportunity. They are not just promoting males only or females only. They are not promoting certain races only or certain people from certain religion only, or they do not stop people because you are, for example, you're Muslim, you're not going to get promoted. That's not allowed. That's not being responsible to its employee. Everybody should have a fair chance for promotion and to get hired. Yeah. Okay guys, this is our final part for this chapter. The topic is called as approaches to social responsibility. When it comes to company, if we take, let's say we take all companies all over the world, we group them and then we ask them, who amongst you are socially responsible? We would have a bunch of people that is extremely very good in being socially responsible. There's also people that are very poor, companies that are very poor in being socially responsible. And if we group them, we can categorize into 4 approaches, 4 behavior of how they are being socially responsible. Okay, look at this. Please take a little bit of time to actually read the approaches. You can pause my video. Right? There are 4 approaches to being socially responsible. From being proactive, this super good lah. This is accommodative, okay. This is defensive, a little bit tough. This obstructionist, these are people that, companies that try their best not to be socially responsible. Again, if we take all companies all over the world, we can group them into these categories. Alright, let's take a look at it deeper. The first one, we look at the worst first. Yeah, it's called as obstructionist stance. A company that have this kind of stance, what they do is that they are not interested in being socially responsible. It's all about money from them. They would do as little as possible, or even to an extent, if they do something that is totally irresponsible, they would try to cover up or they deny their violations. They don't care about protecting environment. If people come and check, they would try their best to cover up their wrongdoings. Yeah, they don't care about being nice to their employees. They don't. They do not care about their investors. So these are companies that are what we call as obstructionist stance. Not a good company at all. We also have defensive stance. This kind of company, what they do is quite simple. They are very straightforward. They are here to do business, nothing else. They're not going to go extra mile. They're not going to do extra. What they do is that they just make sure that the company always meets the minimum legal requirement. So if government asks them to do this much, by law, they would follow to make sure that they are not in trouble. But that's it. Nothing else, nothing extra. Yeah. It might be because the top management is not interested. Sometimes it might be because the company is not that strong yet. So they are at the growing process. Sometimes when the company is at growing process, they just want to make sure that they follow the law first. They want to expand, then they can do something else. Yeah. So defensive stance. They make sure that they follow whatever government asks. AA, that's it. Not extra. Accommodative stance. Accommodative stance here means that a company, they follow already the minimum requirement that the government asks. They follow all the minimum objective, but sometimes they would do a little bit extra. If you ask them, they will go and do a little bit extra. If you ask them, contribute lah during COVID, go, we urge companies to contribute, help the local communities. Okay, you know what? They do. If people don't sell, they don't. They just run their business. Not an issue, not a problem. They would still do it. Yeah. Lastly, proactive stance. This proactive stance here is when a company, they always try their best. They have their own department inside. They don't need government to tell them how to help their local communities, how to be nice, how to go extra mile. They have created a department for that. They don't need a government to tell them what to do. Sometimes they even propose to the government. They even create foundations, body, they even create charity of their own, yeah, to help the local communities, to help people, to help a lot of people. This is what we call as proactive. These are the best lah. Yeah. So if you work in companies such as this, then you should have actually a better experience. You should have a better sense of achievement there. And normally employees that are in proactive stance, they are very good employees. Just like the top management is good, the employees is also very good, and the employees tend to stay longer. Whereas a company employees that are in obstructionist stance, normally they don't stay that long because they know they are not doing something good. They tend to leave fast, or even those who stay long, they have the same negative behavior. That's it. The 4 types of approaches. We are done for today. Thank you so much for listening. and I hope to see you during tutorial. You can repeat this video anytime that you want, and please make sure that you watch the next video that is coming. Thank you. Have a good day, everyone. Bye bye.